You know, folks, there are still people out there right now who are scratching their heads and they cannot figure out how that Kamala Harris just surged past Donald Trump in popularity after Biden dropped out of the race. She just came out swinging and people loves her and it's caught on and she's such a breath of fresh air, but there's still people sitting back going, how'd she do it? We can't figure it out. And to me, it's right there in front of their faces. First of all, Kamala Harris is way more relatable. Second of all, she doesn't run the country down and demonize everyone coming here. And third, people are just sick and tired of Donald Trump and his act. His act has become so tiresome because he has not spiced it up or changed it up at all since he came down the escalator. And it's just a message of division and hate and cruelty and mocking other people and demonizing people coming to this country. And I think the reason that people love her so much and why she's so popular now is because she's so much more relatable. And this is the first time in my life that I've ever seen a candidate be demonized for being middle class. Anytime Kamala says, I came from a middle class family, MAGA takes that and turns it into a meme and mocks her for it. They make fun of her for that. Meanwhile, they sit back while struggling to feed their families and pay their bills, and they follow after a grifter who has never solved any of their problems, never made their life better in no way, and tries to sell them crappy merch or tries to sell them $100,000 watches that they could never afford on their best day. It's so crazy of a time to be alive, but I'm so glad that we have Kamala out there talking and talking in a humane way. Right now, so many people on the East Coast have been devastated by Hurricane Helene. I've never really seen anything like that here in East Tennessee. There are parts of the world that I played music in for years that are just gone now and underwater, and everything is just so tragic all the way around us. Now, what you got to understand is that Kamala Harris is already working along with Joe Biden to send relief here, and you got to understand most of the places she's sending relief to is red states, but you will not hear her demonize them or even bring that up in this next clip. Take a look.
Before I begin, I do want to say a few words about Hurricane Helene. I spoke this morning with our FEMA administrator, Chris Well, and President Biden and I, of course, will continue to monitor the situation closely. We have mobilized more than 1,500 federal personnel to support those communities that have been impacted. We have food, water, and generators that are ready for deployment. And we are working to restore power for millions of people who currently are experiencing outages. And I just want to stress, and for the press that is here, to those who are watching, the storm continues to be dangerous and deadly, and lives have been lost, and the risk of flooding still remains high. So I continue to urge everyone to please continue to follow guidance from your local officials until we get past this moment. So thank you all. And
first of all, doesn't it feel good to hear someone who's a voice of reason? Doesn't it feel good to hear someone speaking with compassion and humility versus just the hate and the vile that always comes out of Donald Trump's mouth? He's the guy that said that he would let California burn to the ground before he would help Gavin Newsom, that Gavin Newsom would have to do everything he said or he would just sit back and let it burn. And what's so crazy about that to me is that there are Trump supporters in California. I know a lot of people here in East Tennessee don't believe that. They think that if you go to California, it's just one big hippie fest, I guess, but that's not the case at all. And so what Trump is telling his own voters is, well, you guys live in the wrong part of the world, and I would sit back and let the state burn to the ground because I disagreed with the governor. You see Kamala speaking there and actually doing the work rather than just going around throwing paper towels in the air like Trump did for a photo op. Everything is always a photo op with him, and everything is a way to always make things about him. And I'm sure he would find some way to blame immigrants for the hurricane. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he didn't find a way. He may already have. I don't know. He's just that type of person. But Kamala doesn't speak down to people. She doesn't talk down and demeaning to people. And people coming here trying to find a better way. I'm so glad to hear her saying we need to work on finding pathways for them to come because they just want to make their lives better. I'm so glad to hear someone not demonizing people coming here. Take a look.
I reject the false choice. I reject the false choice that suggests we must either choose between securing our border or creating a system of immigration that is safe, orderly, and humane. We can and we must do both. We must do both. And we need clear legal pathways for people seeking to come into our country. And we must make our current system work better. For example, it can take years for asylum claims to be decided. Well, this is a problem we can solve, including by hiring more asylum officers and expanding processing centers in people's home countries. And as president, I will work with Congress to create, at long last, a pathway to citizenship for hardworking immigrants who have been here for years. For years. And deserve to have a system that works.
So there's actually a lot to unpack right there, because first of all, she talked about how that our current system needs to be better. And that's something that Donald Trump would never say. When he was president, America was great. Those were the only few years in his mind that it was ever great, was when he was in charge. And all he has to say to his followers is that he fixed it or he made it great, and they'll believe it. They don't have to see any evidence at all to back up his claim, because I talk to Trump supporters every day who tell me that America was great under him and that everything was just it was just a land flowing with milk and honey. It's crazy. It's absolutely delusional to hear them talk. So Donald Trump is now bashing the current system simply because he's not in charge. That's the only reason. But Kamala recognizes, hey, there are still flaws in our current system, and we need to find a way to make it work better. And that's something that you would never hear Donald Trump say. She also talks about how she would like to work with Congress to fix the problem. Donald Trump called him and said, stop that border bill because I want to run on the problem. And she talks about immigrants as hardworking and recognizes their hard work and their contribution to America. That's something that don't get talked about enough. Now, I'm sure there would be some troll somewhere in the comment section going, well, Trump's okay with them coming here legally, but he is constantly running them down, talking about how they're poisoning the blood, speaking in terms of straight out of 1930s Germany. And it's always anything he's talking about. It's always, we have to get them out. We have to. They are taking over our country. Why? By doing the jobs that nobody around here wants to do? I really wish that people in my part of the world would just stop and be real for a minute, because you guys don't want to do the jobs that they're doing. And you won't. You absolutely will not do it. But you sit back and demonize people coming here who have came from a place and they're looking for a better way of life. And when I was growing up, I heard a Republican president talking about how that people come here and they seek this country to find a better way and that we should welcome them. But Trump has started this. Let's demonize them. Let's get them out of the country. They're ruining our country. How are they going to ruin it? By working? By working and boosting our economy? That's how. What are they? What is going on? Because all of the fear and hyperbole that he's pushing, it's just that. It's just fear and hyperbolic bullshit. That's truly all that it is. And who cares if they bring their own belief system? Who cares if they bring their own way of life? That's exactly what this country is supposed to be. We're not supposed to be a one-track mind. We're not supposed to look like one certain group of people. We are a melting pot of all sorts of people. And I don't want a president leading me that is only out for people that looks and sounds exactly like me. I want someone who is working for everyone. And that's why I'm voting for Kamala Harris. And I ain't thinking twice about doing it. And it ain't nothing about Republican versus Democrat to me, because I promise you, if Donald Trump had ran as a Democrat and used the kind of rhetoric, let's say he did everything exactly the same, he just did it on the Democratic Party, it would have never happened because Democrats would have held him accountable and wouldn't let him by with the bullshit. But just for the sake of the argument, let's say that he had hijacked the Democratic Party. I would have been at the RNC. I would have been talking against it. It's not about Democrat and Republican with me. It's about Donald Trump and what he stands for. And the things he stands for goes against the grain of everything I was ever taught as a kid about what it means to be an American and live here. And people coming here and working hard is not poisoning our blood. People coming here and doing the jobs that no one wants to do is not poisoning the blood, and they're not the enemy. They're really not. And I think people needs to wake up and realize the real enemy is trying to sell them a Bible. And I think they need to dust off whichever Bible they got a copy of and realize that if that's what they want to bank on, that that's the word of God and that's real, there's a bunch of scripture in there about the false prophets and the people that's going to take you to the bank. So I think you need to start reading it. I'm glad that we have Kamala Harris, we have Tim Walz, we have a way out of this. Come election day, we need to make sure that Kamala wins this thing in a landslide. And we need to just for once and for all shout down that rhetoric because it is so tiresome. Kamala is already light years ahead of Trump as a leader. And I'm not just saying that because I'm voting for her. I'm saying it because it's obvious. The guy is absolutely falling apart at the seams. I did a video earlier today showing just all the unhinged off the wall stuff he's saying. Now everything's all about him. Woe is me. I'm the victim in the story. I'm being persecuted. And that appeals to his base because they want to feel like they're the most persecuted people and that everyone out there, it's everyone else's fault that they can't get ahead in the world. It's everyone else's fault that they couldn't make it up better and make a better way for themselves. So another thing I would say to him is while you're sitting back complaining about immigrants coming here and working hard, you won't, and you're blaming everyone else for your problems, and you're thinking some grifter that's trying to sell you a $100,000 watch is the guy that's going to save the day. It's ridiculous. It's crazy, but we just have to keep putting in the work, folks, and we put in the work by continuing to spread the message of the pro-democracy movement, and we just continue to try to lift people up right now, especially with everything going on in this country, and especially everything going on the East Coast. Now's not the time to be beating each other up and beating each other down and demonizing people who are here working hard. Now's the time to really, truly come together. And we can do that, and we can have a Madam Vice President that cares about all of us instead of some, con man that's just talking down to everybody and running this country in the ground every chance he gets. I really appreciate you guys so much for sticking with me and supporting what it is that I do. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It just helps keep the videos in the algorithm. Comment if you feel like it. If not, leave me a blue heart. Leave me a thumbs up. Check in. Let me know you're safe here on the East Coast because I love to hear from my listeners. Make sure you're okay. I'm still doing okay, but I plan on getting out here and seeing what I can do to help around because there's so much going on. So everybody just stay safe and let's keep putting the work in and we'll get there.